everyone, and welcome to Behind the Nail Pros for our June issue. We were so lucky to have Sam Biddle come all the way out here from the UK to do our cover. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
When we first started talking about doing different types of nails, you came up with a English rose theme. How did you come up with this?
Well, I'm English, and I seem to have been doing a lot of roses, whether it's with gel or with acrylic, and a lot of nail techs are into the whole rose thing. So the English rose is an obvious choice, and it's nice. It looks good. It's quite an easy flower to do in acrylic too.
And you did it a little bit differently. I think a lot of techs are used to seeing the roses on top of the nail, but this is both inlaid in it and on top.
What I wanted to do was show two aspects. We call it embedding in the UK, so we embed the flowers in there so they're very, very thin, and then I also wanted to do a little bit of fantasy work, so just tiny roses that I've just wrapped around with some wire, and it just lifts it, especially for a photo shoot like this. It makes it look a little different.
So tell me how you began. Normally you would prep the nails,
yes,
but in this instance you didn't because the model wanted to take them off afterwards.
Yeah. We would push the cuticles back, we'd dehydrate the nail, and then we put a primer down. I have done something slightly different. I've used acrylic and gel together. So we pulled out a base in acrylic. I extended the nail bed with a cover pink that I mixed myself, and then used colour drops just on the free edge. And we did all that in acrylic. The colour drops I decided yellow was a nice summery colour, so we did we use yellow colour drops. Also, yellow is quite fashionable. This is a good yellow is in the season's colours.
So you added the colour drop to
the monomer.
The monomer.
Yeah. I think I used about 4 or 5 drops of yellow colour drops into the monomer, and then when you pick up a clear acrylic powder, it will become like glass. Once everything's finished, it'll just look completely see-through. But you can use these colour drops with white as well, so you can make a real pastel base with a white powder too. So
you built out the nail bed and you used the yellow colour drops for the free edge.
Yes, yellow colour drops on the free edge, blending that through to a clear.
After the yellow colour drops, then you added something else to the nail. What was that?
That was a yellow glass paint. It's ideal if you use a glass paint that's alcohol based rather than a water base, and I just did that just to lift the yellow. So I wanted 2 shades of the yellow on the nail. We didn't do it very precisely. I just dabbed it on with a brush, and you can do that. It was just to lift the white of the rose.
And gave it a little more dimension.
Exactly, that's the word I was looking for. And then what I used was some tulle. It's just like a material, it's like lattice work.
Yeah, they use in like tutus.
Yes, that's it. So I used this gold tulle that I literally stuck on. I used some brush-on resin onto the dry acrylic and then stuck the tulle down. I didn't stick it all over the free edge, I just stuck it at an angle because the roses will follow that same angle. And that makes the nails seem longer.
While you did most of the roses at home, we wanted to see what it looked like and how you did it. So we had you do one here on the nail.
I did. I used a fast-setting white powder, and I dipped it in like a muted gold powder. I wanted to highlight the tulle that I'd put down. You put the tiny bead onto the nail, and you just make sure you leave it just for a little while. Don't start working on it straight away. Clean your brush off and then come back in and press it out. It's important that the point of the brush stays in what will become the center of your flower. And you lean your brush up at a 45-degree angle to start off with. Pressing it out, clean your brush off again, and then you're pressing it flatter. And so your 45-degree angle will mean that you're pulling the flower out on either side, and then you're pulling your flower back when you press your brush flatter. We start off the rose with the first 3 petals, then I just put 2 more inside, and then we do the center. And the center is like a little, it's like a little curl. So I just wiggle my brush in the middle, and then I just flatten the curl out.
After you did the roses, then you created leaves.
Yeah, so I generally put about 3 roses per nail, and then the leaves are double dipped again, a lighter shade of green and then a really dark green. I love this green, it's my favourite. Your greens have to be side by side, not on top of each other. It's quite important. And then you pull with the tip of your brush the darker green through the lighter green. Clean your brush off, and then you're just pressing out. So the point of your brush is on the either side of the vein down the center of the leaf. And then I used a little tool, it's like a pin, but you can use anything, just to indent it. And then that gives you those little veins on the leaf. Now, a great little tip is using the dark green again, and use a wet bead, and you just run that over those veins. So what happens is the dark green sits into the veins and it gives you shadow. Especially when you're putting acrylic or gel over the top, it gives more depth to the flowers.
And you have to be careful when you're doing this too, right? Because you want them really flat, both the roses and the leaves to be really flat, because if they're too bulky, it'll make the nail too bulky when you're building it.
Yes, and so we're using colour, shade and shadow, and texture, and that's what will give us our depth. So actually when you look at the flowers, they are super flat, but when you look down on them, we're using different colours and we're highlighting them. Once
the flowers and the leaves were all applied to the nails, then you coated the entire nail.
Well, I use gel. I prefer, obviously the nail that we pulled out in is acrylic, and traditionally you would cap this in acrylic. But gel just enhances the design, and when you're doing something detailed like this, I want to magnify it. I want to show it to its best. Acrylic, I find, tends to push things back. It tends to flatten everything out. So, and when we're doing photo shoots or anything like this, you want to pull things forward, because the photos naturally flatten things out.
Right.
There's no reason why you can't use gel in a salon either. I mean, whatever you do, I do this with my clients as well. If I'm doing something intricate, I'll stick some gel over the top rather than acrylic. It's the same, it will still be the same structurally, it will still have the same strength, but it'll just look fantastic.
Once the nails were cured, then you started filing.
Yes, it's just a rounded free edge, so it's very straight side walls and just a rounded free edge. So we're not quite going into the oval, and it's a nice long elongated shape. And it's attractive, it is attractive, so it's a soft nail to go with the soft design. Then once everything was finished and we coated it with a gel top coat, I then applied the little fantasy flowers. This is not something that a regular tech is going to do for their client, unless they're getting married.
Sure.
But you're not going to see them going down to the supermarket with these nails on.
Right.
But these come off, so the nails could stay as normal with these little embellishments, as it were, just travel up the finger, and again it just makes everything seem longer.
For the 3D nails that you did you use the same technique as you did for the embedded ones?
They were slightly different, but this time I started in the center first. So I pressed the acrylic out, rolled it so that I had this center curl, and then each petal was made. So in a way that was similar to the petals that I had, and then I put the center into the petal, wrapped it around, made another petal, and then put those two petals into, and I literally built it up that way, and eventually I had a teeny tiny rose. I enhanced it with a tiny bit of white paint on the tips of the roses as well.
And then how did you attach it to that little piece of wire?
The trick with that, another secret, you've got the wire, I've used green wire, but if you coat that in acrylic, because it's really hard to attach those roses to just bare wire.
Yeah.
So if you just coat it in acrylic, and then you can stick it on with a resin, a fast dry wet resin, and then you keep the strength there, or you make it stronger by adding more acrylic. So I put the little roses down and then just added tiny little green leaves around base.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. It was such a treat to have you, and you offered so many great tips. I think that our readers are going to be really excited. And the nails looked fantastic. Thank you so much once again for coming all the way out here.
It's a pleasure. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.